So one thing that really is so weird and so mind-boggling is that in today's day and age, 2025, like we live in such a fucked up world. I mean, that's obvious. That's besides the point, but specifically when it comes to like news, when it comes to like information, right? We live in such a bizarre time that when it comes to the real truth, like the real stuff, like you would think, I mean, again, everybody already knows this, but you would think the news would tell you the news, right? But it's so strange that we live in a world now that our news, the actual real news, the accurate news is coming from comedians. Like the world has shifted so much. Like we have mostly comedians. I'm like comedians. You have all these weird comedians who just this their job to just talk and tell jokes, and that's what they do. But like so many of them are actually telling you the truth. Like it's the comedians and the jesters and the jokesters that are opening up people's eyes. Like that shouldn't be the way it is, right? You shouldn't be listening to a podcast to wake up. People like Joe Rogan have opened people's eyes more than any other like news outlet could have or should have. Like that's like what kind of a world is that? Like even me, I've learned so much from Joe Rogan and I've like realized so much shit from him. And I mean that's just from his podcast. I'm not even a huge fan of his comedy. But like I have my favorite comedians. I have comedians that I listen to and like follow and whatever. So, like people like Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle and Anthony Jeselnik, Jeff Dye, just to name a few. Like, what's another one? That Jeff R. Curry. Like these comedians are hilarious, but they're like talking straight facts. That's the thing. Like, it's such a nice art form. First of all, for them to be able to like spin it around in a joke, and a lot of it is stereotypical or whatever, racial. Again, it's like it's funny, but it's true. And I'm not just talking about like this. So yeah, of course that's what they do, right? They have their silly comedies. You have the silly skits and stuff that they just do to make you laugh. There's jokes, but then there's also like that other whole level of like social commentary, news comedy, whatever. And they've mastered it. Well, some of them have, and it's just like it's come to the point though that we need to get our news from comedians and like these random accounts. Like you will learn more about the world from certain people on Instagram or Twitter or YouTube than you would watching the news. Like you watch people watch the news still. Yeah, you're gonna watch the news for the weather. You might want to check the traffic report or something, or if it's like very basic stuff like that, the news can't lie about. But other than that, it's like, what is it even like? What does it become? Like this. I mean, I guess it's a good thing, obviously, too. Social media has completely shifted everything. And it's like, but it's like the truth is coming from the wrong sources. Like the news for the longest time. Like, I mean, everyone's eyes are now opening up to the fact that how much actual propaganda and bullshit there's always been out there. And like they've been feeding us so much garbage. But it's like it's hilarious that you gotta go and listen to a fucking comedian in some little, nightclub or something, 400 people, 200 people, like small places, like 100 seats. You go and sit there and you listen to a comedian, and they're the ones telling the truth. Like they're the ones telling me the facts of how the world actually operates. That's just crazy. It's crazy. And so yeah, that's the world we live in. Where like that's where the comedy. Like I mean, you got those people too. Like they've always been doing it on a bigger scale too. Like I mean, you have the news, but then you got people like you had Jay Leno, and he did it, but not really to the level that I'm talking about. David Letterman, like those kind of people. And today you got Jimmy Fallon, and you got Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert, and all that. Yeah, they're doing it too. But then you wonder too how much of their stuff is still controlled, and how much of it is propaganda. It's almost like the more random the comedian, the more random these voices are, the more factual, the more truth they talk, the deeper you can go into their reality of like what it actually all means. But yeah, anyways, that's like what it's come to, where you're getting your news not from the news. You're getting your news from everything else. But then again, what is news? Like again, if you're talking about very basic stuff, like nobody even it's all depressing shit anyway. Nobody even watches it. I don't know why people do watch it. I know people who watch the news. I know people who will sit there literally for like hours and watch the news about crap that's happening on the other side of the planet, which you cannot do anything about. You can't control it. And that's another thing I've heard so many other people that's one thing I learned too, is that you're not supposed to get all that information, right? We're just human beings, we're animals. You're not supposed to be exposed to that much news, that much information. We are simple animals, okay? Like you're like that's all we were just smarter animals. That's all it is. That's if you believe in this shit and you believe like that's what we are. But anyways, we're just animals. Like if you believe that God created us in his image and whatever, this and that, if we want to talk simulation and complexities, that's a whole different story, right? But if you want to go back to the basics, if we're just animals and like you're not like we've evolved into these animals, you're not supposed to know so much crap. You're not supposed to be exposed to this much information. So like you're not supposed to know what's happening on the other side of the world. Like people sit there and watch news about wars. Like, yes, it is sad, it's tragic, but as a human being, as an animal, you're not designed. Your brain isn't designed to take all that information in, which goes, this touches into the whole social media thing too. Just the fact that we have like all this information pumping into our brains, the doom scrolling thing, it all ties into, it's all the same shit. It all ties in together. But you're not meant to know that. You can't sit and watch 2 hours of depressing news about shit on the other side. You're only supposed to know what's happening literally in your own little community, your own area, right? Hunter gatherers, little communities. We were freaking groups of like 50 to 150 people. Like that's how history was. So this whole news thing is bullshit anyways. Like it makes no sense. Why are you pumping your brain with so much information when you're not supposed to? Like we got to get back to that simpler, simplistic time. And I guess that's what a lot of comedians are saying. I don't know. I'm just going off the rails now, but like that's basically what I've learned from these comedians. It's not like the news. You don't flick on the news to good old CNN and Fox News and ABC and blah blah blah. They're not sitting there saying, "Hey, turn us off. Go back to the simpler ways. Go listen to a comedian tell you the truth. Don't turn off CNN. Go live your life. Be simple. Be basic. Stop stressing about this shit." That's not how the world works, even though it should. But like that's the problem. We've become so overexposed, so overstimulated. We just need to go back to basic routines, basic humanity. Just focus on your own community, focus on your street, focus on your neighbors, focus on a couple blocks around you, the town you live in, and that's it. Be a good person. And if everybody did that across the world, things would probably be a better world. Things would be a better place. You would be a better human. But yeah, I don't know. But again, this just gets too complicated, too complex, and you can obviously open this up on so many different levels. But it's like, where are you getting your news? What news is actually important? Like you're learning stuff by listening to podcasts, by listening to these interviews, by listening to these comedians, and I think you're literally learning more from that than anything else, more than from school. You go to school, you learn the basics. Like if you took a kid and just instead of going like yeah, you got the basics in school. Everyone has to learn the basics in school. But like if you instead of going to like college or university, you literally just sat a person down and played somebody's podcasts. Like if you played somebody 100, you take like Joe Rogan's 100 best episodes and you just play that for them, they're going to learn more about the world, more about life, more about everything just from that fucking podcast compared to like some professor standing there and spewing information that's just like who knows what, old, outdated garbage for a lot of this, for a lot of the purposes of what I'm saying. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you have so many good podcasts. Like, you don't, like, the information that's coming to you is so, I don't even know what I'm saying. Man, I'm so out of it right now. But yeah, like, news is not news anymore. We don't get the right news. We don't get the right information. You literally have to, like, go and look for it. But why even seek it out? Like, I mean, if you know the basics and you live your life out, like, just stop complicating things. Stop overcomplicating it and just stop being an asshole. Be a good person and, go and support your local comedian because he's going to tell you more about your life and the realities of this universe than any news agency ever will. And so, yeah, I mean, we're learning everything off social media and we're learning everything off scrolling. But then that becomes too much too, and you got to like limit that. It's like, I guess the Amish knew. That's another, oh man, like the Amish, like how did they even do that? I guess it's like the whole, like if you never had something, you don't know what it is, right? You like once you lose it, you lose it. But if you've never experienced it to begin with, like the Amish have not experienced any of this crap. They live such a simple life. And that's like maybe that's where we need to go back to. That super simple life. Because I doubt the Amish know what the hell's going on in the Middle East right now, or like the details of like some crazy event in like Australia, because they're just living their simple life. No technology, no nothing. Is that how it works? I don't even know. Is that what the Amish do? Like, I mean, that is like they don't do that, right? I mean, they don't do technology. They don't do. Obviously, they're not dumb. They get their information. They have news, and like I guess it's just different way of delivery. But I mean, when you're living that life, a lot more basic and simple. They know what they need to know. Let me put it that way. That's what it is. They know what they need to know, and that's probably why they're so healthy and they're happy and they're striving because they don't need all this extra bullshit. And that's what we're doing. We're filling our minds and our brains and our lives with all that extra bullshit. And the Amish aren't doing that. And I don't know how the hell I became. I mean, I don't know how the hell I'm on the topic of how did I start talking about Amish people? I started talking about comedians telling us facts and truths, and now I'm suddenly talking about Amish people like 10 minutes later. But, anyways, yeah, so maybe that's what we need to do, be more like the Amish. They know what they're doing, you know, go back to the simpler times. And, yeah, I guess that's it. Your mom